I need a new tripod, and I thought, well, while I have a couple ones here that I'm trying to decide between, why not share my process or my requirements for a tripod with you and kind of show you the pros and cons that I found and maybe help you decide what you actually need and then trying to pick one from the options that are out there. So I'm not going to do this from I'm a camera enthusiast or I'm a tripod connoisseur perspective. I'm just somebody who uses tripods as a means to an end. I typically work solo, so right now the camera's on a tripod. When I'm in a shot, the camera's in a tripod, like right now. When I work on something on a workbench or in the studio, the camera's on a tripod, kind of like next to me and points down onto what I'm working on. Very rarely do I do handheld shots. Well, not so rarely, but those are kind of the exception. Most of the time, my cameras spend their time on a tripod. Yes, there is a monopod behind me. That's kind of the exception. We're going to talk about that first, right now, actually. So my kind of history of tripods, as I also moved through different classes of cameras. Actually, this goes here in the order somewhere. First starting out with a Manfrotto compact action, I believe this is called, with a pistol grip. You can see I now use that as a phone mount because the head kind of doesn't work anymore, to using like a cheapo standard tripod, getting something a bit nicer, trying a monopod, and eventually settling for studio use on a heavy double-legged tripod with a fluid head on top. Now, these are different price ranges too, and the tripods that I'm looking at today, those are all in the 200 euro range without a head. These were like, I think, 60 bucks, 80 bucks, 120 bucks with the head. The monopod wasn't that expensive either, and these are relatively cheap components too. So these are the most expensive tripods once they have a head on them that I'll have used. But I think these are really kind of a sweet spot because, like I said, I need something that can be in a workshop where there's metal shavings or they might get dinged up. And I didn't want to have something that's like carbon fiber, that you touch it once and the leg's going to be broken. And also something that's not too expensive to where I would have to worry about them constantly. So a couple of tripods here that I think are special and what I liked about them. So this guy, compact action. This is a super light travel tripod. It has lever locks, which I do like on my tripods, more than that in a second. And it is just super fast to work with. The pistol grip, you have the lock, unlock right here. You have it at your thumb and index finger. Super easy to work with. You unlock these and they slide out. Like you can do that, and within 20 seconds or something, you're set up. Problem is it's 5 segments and it's not a very sturdy tripod. Like you can hear it's kind of squeaking. It's very light, which is great for traveling, but it doesn't have a ton of carry capacity, especially with this head. So I did use this a while with the Panasonic GE7. Worked perfectly fine, did the job. Now it's a phone mount, and it's still perfect for that. I still do like this tripod. Next up, I got a panel, which I guess is just a branded import. Also lever locks, also legs that slide very easily. This time with a kind of fake fluid head, typical video head. This I had stowed away for a while, and I recently took it out again and I was like, this is actually not that bad of a tripod. This is something that I actually want to use. I do try to put the Arca Swiss plates on all my tripod heads as much as I can. I think I'm now moving to the larger 502 Manfrotto plates. But yeah, Arca Swiss, really good system, highly recommended. I did try a monopod for a while, and this is actually pretty cool because it does kind of stand up on itself. This is the Manfrotto XPRO something. It does stand up on itself, so you can kind of let go of a camera sometimes, but it's not that great for solo work, again, because it is very unstable. You do need an operator with this just to man it and make sure it's not shaking around too much. So this, I guess if you have a two-man crew like a DP Review TV has, this would be very good. This would be excellent. And actually DP Review TV, they recommend the iFootage monopod. Hey dogs. Which is why I also ordered the iFootage, we'll get to the exact name in a second, and not too stoked about this. Now the tripod that I used the most and the most recently is this three-legged things Punk's Patty, and again lever lock, all good. This was $120 with the head. Has a ball head, which I actually do like a lot because it allows you to level the camera very easily as well. And this, like it feels more like a cheap tripod than the actually cheap tripod does, but it's a bit sturdier. It works well. Unfortunately, it now broke and one of the locks kind of pulled out, and now it's this one, yeah. Now it's not locking anymore properly. So this has done its job. I'm gonna keep using the head, but yeah, that's out. And then lastly, one that I've been using for a while is a super cheap. This is Valimex. I think Cowboy Studio is the equivalent US brand. Cheap base, and then a Manfrotto MVH 502A on top. I'm not super happy with the Manfrotto head. You can see that has quite a bit of just mechanical play in it. So yeah, that's something that just stays in the tripod. I use it backwards. I have it with the handle facing me for live streams so that I can adjust the camera angle. That's the B camera that I use for streams. And this is great for that because it does not budge. Now, what I realized with these tripods is they look the same, they look similar, but in the end, each one of these is kind of geared towards a special application. All of these actually are geared towards the travel tripod category. And I did order these specifically, I did buy these specifically because I wanted something that would fit in carry-on luggage. This one especially, I looked at the folded up length, and it would need to fit in either a personal item just stowed on the side of a camera backpack, or in the carry-on case. And when you decide for that, you do start making lots of compromises. Like, this is a 4-segment tripod, which means it's going to be less sturdy. It's going to require more time to fold and unfold. You have problems with it being too flimsy and too light. So probably at some point I'm going to get a proper travel tripod. Like the Peak Design one looks really good, but that makes even more compromises in trying to be a travel tripod versus these that I don't think it would be very useful for studio workshop use, where you kind of don't care about weight all that much. You don't care about how small it folds up at all, because it's never going to get folded down. So let me move these a bit further out of the way, actually. But yeah, that's what I ordered as far as tripods go. I think this one is kind of the odd one out. But let's see. So I've already made up my mind. This is the tripod that I'm going to keep. This is the Manfrotto 055. It's got a full long name, XPRO. It's the 3-segment one. This I like the most. Let me just get that out of the way. I was kind of cautious with Manfrotto because of my mediocre experiences with their fluid head, but this one's good. I'm going to keep this one. Next up, the iFootage, because there's a lot of raving about the iFootage. This is the Gazelle TA6S, also 3-segment. Same, these are basically the same tripod as far as market segment and how they design, where they're trying to fit in. These are basically the same thing. And then, as kind of an oddball, I ordered a Benro. What is this? A Mac 3 TMA 47AL. This one's kind of cool too. This one is actually the lightest one out of the bunch. At least it feels that way. It has the thickest tubes. It has, I think, also the thinnest tubes. And this one is incredibly rigid once it's, even if it's fully extended. Now, number one priority for me for working with tripods is speed. A typical video that I publish on my main channel is going to have like 150 different shots in it, and each one is going to have a different setup. So one time, I might be working on the bench, I might need to get a low angle, then I need a high angle pointing down. I'm going to move it around. Like, all that is kind of important to me, just being able to do those 150 shots-ish and move through them as fast as possible. So for that, I need 2 things essentially. I need a center column, because that means when I'm just quickly adjusting the height of my camera, it's just 1 lock that I have to undo instead of 3. And also I need the legs to be very quickly movable. So I need to be able to unlock them very fast, and I need to be able to lock them securely again when, when I've got my height adjusted. And that unfortunately disqualifies the Benro, because the Benro has twist locks. And with twist locks, I mean, I never warmed up to the entire twist lock thing. I know a lot of people swear by them, but with all the implementations that I've used so far, like there's never a point where you know, oh, now it's secure. Well, yeah, it's secure now, but I've had instances where you would block it and you would think it's done, but it still slides in. Also, there's like a two-step, like this isn't unlocked. You saw how much I twisted it there. You need to twist it again to actually move over the backlash of the screw. And then you can adjust it. Like it's two grips. I have to grip this twice to actually get this fully locked and unlocked. So this just slows me down. Also, the center column lock is the same thing. Like it doesn't fully unlock. You have to twist it quite a bit to like fully get it. And even now it's not, you can see how easily I can push this down. You really need to clamp this down. So this, great for putting a teleprompter on top. Great for having it in a static setup, like as a replacement to the double-legged fluid head one. I think this would make a great tripod for that, but it is not very fast to work with. Now, the leg unlocking mechanism with the kind of latching locks here, that's fine, that's nice, but yeah, and also it's very light, but it's kind of a weird bag of properties that don't really fit together. So that leaves me with the Manfrotto 055 and the iFootage TA6S. And right out of the box, I think the iFootage actually feels heavier, though now I'm not so sure about that anymore. But it's always felt denser, at least. There are two special features on each of these. So first of all, the iFootage has this tripod, this mini bowl head that allows you to like slightly level your tripod head when your tripod is on uneven terrain. And that's cool if you need it. That's cool if you have uneven terrain. For me, I work on tiled engineered floors, so I don't have uneven floors. The only time I would need this is when I've got one of the legs not as far extended as the others, and then I could use a little spirit level in here to actually get a flat mounting flange for the head, and that's marginally useful. The other special feature on the Manfrotto is also with the center column. You can actually move this over and use it in an overhead setup, so your tripod head is actually pointing down onto what you're doing. So that's also not something I'm going to use all the time, but it's nice to have. I think I would use this more often than I would use the leveling feature on the iFootage. Now, the big difference between these two and why I'm going with the Manfrotto is just the feel of the locks. I really love the feel of the locks on the XPRO monopod, like that snapping action. Like that snapping action, and then the slide where it's like it slides out on its own, and then you have a secure lockdown position. That I think is worth a lot, because you get tactile feedback on where it's locked and where it's unlocked, and once it's locked, you know it's down. On the 055, on the current one, you get those same locks. You unlock them, the leg slides out all the way if you want to, or you can kind of stop it with the floor and kind of level the tripod like that. That is very easy to do, and you lock it down. It gives you an acoustic feedback right there. Did you know it's... Yeah, it sometimes does that. It gives you that acoustic feedback. Now, that is great to have, but I'm gonna have to assemble this again in a second. Or can I slide it back in? Yeah, I can. But the quality control out of the factory on the Manfrotto is not great. You really have to adjust each of these locking screws on the tripod itself for it to not keep doing that. Like, you have to adjust the tension on these locks, and you have to adjust the screws where it's clamped down onto the upper legs. So that's something that I'm not happy with the way that Manfrotto is actually doing it, but it's something that you can adjust. It. They actually give you an adjustment screw for the levers, not for the clamping mechanism. So they give you a wrench with that. So that's something you have to adjust, yeah, but it's something you can adjust. What you cannot adjust is the feel of these locks on the iFootage. This is a classic cam mechanism that's really just a super soft close and open. There's no snapping action here. And like this unlocks more slowly because you have to actually work against that friction. And then once it's down, it's also not like, yeah, it's snapped into place. No, you have to press it down as well. This just does not feel as great as the Manfrotto locks. Also, like this upper portion, these hinges up here, they're kind of stiff. So that does make it slower to work with. Also, these don't slide out. These don't always slide out as well. Like if you do it at an angle, yeah, you can see you kind of have to pull out that last bit. It does not have that same glide action as the Manfrotto. Yeah, and I should actually, you can see I should extend all these legs. On the center column, this has the same locking mechanism as the Benro with the twist nut on the outside. And this one is a lot more solid than on the Benro, or a lot more tactile-y. On the Manfrotto, you have the single locking screw, which I know some people don't like because it's plastic and it might break. But the locking screw on my compact action, same thing, same locking screw, still holds up well. This thing is probably 8 years old now. So that's held up well, even though this is an all plastic tripod with metal legs. So I don't see this as like a major downside. Otherwise, like I said, I think the iFootage and the Manfrotto 055 are basically direct competitors and very comparable tripods. And it's going to be down to which one of these features, those bonus features, you appreciate more, and whether like the positive locking and unlocking mechanism of the hinges on the Manfrotto is something you care about a lot. For me, that does make it worth it, even though it does rattle around with that little circlip that's on the bottom here. But this is what works best for me, and that's actually something that I learned is like, you shouldn't try to get something that works for every single thing you do, and there's no perfect tripod for everyone. There's not like one tripod that everyone's going to be super happy about. It's really like which one works the best for you, and for me, that's the Manfrotto. You might prefer the iFootage. You might prefer something cheaper. Like if $200 for tripod legs is too much for you, go for something cheaper. They're not that bad. I think I would be okay using this old handle, but it's just nicer to work with something like this. So yeah, I hope that wasn't too much of a ramble. Thanks for watching. Hope you learned something, and bye.